Then what do you want? Ireti did not rush her answer. She thought of her parents' faces, of nights without light, of mornings where hunger sat like a cousin at the table. She thought of how these girls had everything yet still wanted more. I want respect, she said at last. And protection. If you touch me, if anyone touches me, the world will see your Friday night. Morning in Ibadan High began like a fashion show. The bell rang and the girls spilled out of dormitories like pearls from a broken string, chattering, laughing, arranging braids and lip gloss. In the river of uniforms, four moved like a royal barge. Adizwa walked first, tall and unbothered, her steps unhurried, her ponytail neat enough to slice sunlight. At her left drifted Tiniola, the strategist with a calm smile and eyes that counted everything. Behind them came Bimp, mirror in one hand and phone in the other, already collecting hearts with every photo she would post later. Kofo closed the line, athletes' shoulders squared, daring anyone to block their way. Teachers greeted them like honored guests. Juniors pressed themselves against the corridor walls. Even the prefects adjusted their sashes when the four passed. People called them the Queen Bees. They never corrected the name. The principal had once described Ibadan High as a temple of excellence. To the four girls, it felt like a court. They had a table in the dining hall that no one approached. They had a corner in the library where whispers died and silence obeyed. They had a way of turning rumor into law by evening prep. If they liked you, your name rose like a kite in the dry season wind. If they tired of you, your name became sand in the mouth. They lived where money spoke, and money never stammered. On the first week of term, the school announced a new scholarship student. Her name was Ireti. She arrived with a small box, a larger hope, and a uniform that fit like borrowed faith. She kept her eyes on her shoes, grateful for the glossy shine she had walked into them before dawn. She had learned the art of being unnoticed, but Ibadan High noticed. The matron checked her trunk and sent her along. The house mistress gave a soft warning about study hours and lights out. By evening, Ireti had made her bed with hospital corners and folded all her clothes into careful squares. When the dormitory settled, she whispered a prayer under her breath and set her alarm for 4:30 am. She had plans to outrun hunger and the future it tried to sell. The Queen Bees heard about her the way they heard about everything, in the buzzing stream that flowed toward their table. A junior whispered how the girl's father repaired generators. Another swore she had seen the girl's mother sell vegetables by the road. Someone said she came first in her district. Someone else said she had one pair of shoes. By lunch the story had many teeth. By dinner it had claws. When Adizwa finally saw Ireti in the corridor, she felt nothing except the faint irritation of a pen mark on a wall. She looked away. Kofo did not. Kofo smiled like a cat. The first test results of the term came back a week later. Tiniola topped mathematics, the place she always guarded like a throne. In English, Bim's essay about the glow of ambition earned a neat red excellent. In biology, Kofo's diagram made the teacher say, "Well done." But in chemistry, a new name climbed the list. Ireti O, first position. The lab fell quiet when the chart was pinned to the board. A murmur rose and faltered. Some girls smiled because success, even when it belongs to someone else, can be sweet if you have a generous heart. Some girls frowned because success can be a mirror. Kofo traced the letters with a finger and laughed under her breath. They did not come for her that day. Queens rarely hurry. They waited for a softer moment, a corridor without witnesses, a breeze to carry their words away. It came 2 evenings later when prep ended and the sky began to bruise into night. Ireti held her textbooks to her chest and started toward the dorm block. She did not see them at first. She felt them, like a change in weather behind her. "Scholar," Adizwa said, almost kindly. "Walk with us." Ireti slowed. She did not like the word. In some mouths it was honor. In others it was the leash for a dog. She joined their pace, cautious, her eyes flicking to the house mistress's window. The curtain did not move. "You are very bright," Tiniola said. "That is good. Bright girls shine. And shining girls must learn to reflect the right light," Bimp added, checking her phone. "We care about our school's image. Excellence, elegance, discipline." Kofo leaned in slightly. "And respect." Adizwa smiled again. "We host a study group on Fridays." "Selective. You will attend." "Study group?" Ireti asked. Her voice stayed flat. The only study groups she knew had chalk dust on their hems and cracked calculators on the desk. "Study group," Adizwa repeated. "Wear your neatest uniform. Come to the library by 9. They left her there with her heart beating fast, not with fear, but with calculation. If the invitation was a test, she would pass it. If it was a trap, she would learn its teeth. Friday arrived with the smell of cut grass and new soap. Morning assembly floated with hymns. Afternoon games threw laughter against the red earth. Evening meal tasted of beans and pepper, and the last light of day turned the school's mango trees into silhouettes that looked like gods in a folktale. Prep ended. The bell rang. The corridor swallowed footsteps. In the dormitory, the juniors arranged their mosquito nets and told short stories with long hands. Seniors checked their hairlines and their secrets. The house mistress paced, slippers whispering. She had a way of materializing behind doors at the wrong moment and signed the way rain sighs on zinc. By 8:30, Ibadan High wore its night face. Ireti packed her notebook, 2 pens, and a small power bank into the pocket of her sweater. She placed her phone on top and covered it with a handkerchief, though no one had asked to see it. She turned her key twice in the small locker and whispered her mother's proverb, "When a goat enters the market, it keeps its head low." She left the dorm with the quiet confidence of someone who has walked many dark footpaths without a lantern. The library smelled of paper and polish. The main lights were off. Reading lamps glowed like obedient stars. At the far table, 3 shadows waited. Adizwa tapped a pen against the desk and watched her approach. Tiniola slid a slim folder across the table. Bim smiled in a way that did not reach her eyes. "Sit," Adizwa said. Ireti sat. She kept her hands where everyone could see them. Kofo closed the door behind her and turned the key. The click sounded louder than it should. "This is the study group," Tiniola said. "Rule 1. No talking outside. Rule 2. No questions we do not permit. Rule 3. If we help you, you help us." "Help me how?" Ireti asked. Bimp opened the folder. Inside lay the leaked mock exam questions for a minor test, neatly typed, clearly obtained through a channel that did not include prayer. "We curate resources," she said softly. "We protect our own. In return, we expect loyalty. Small favors. Class notes. Errands. Silence." Ireti looked from face to face. In her old school, power was a slap or a shout. Here, power was velvet slipped over a fist. "I do not need this," she said, and the words surprised even her. "I can read." Kofo clicked her tongue. "Poverty and pride. A marriage that breeds trouble." Adizwa tilted her head. "We are giving you a path. You will take it. Or you will learn why people step off the road when a convoy passes." Ireti thought of her mother's palms cracked like dry season earth. She thought of her father's laughter turning thin. She thought of the market boy who shouted the price of tomatoes like a prayer. She thought of the scholarship letter that had felt like a door opening to a house with many rooms. She picked up the folder, weighed it, and set it down. "I will attend study group," she said evenly. "But I will not cheat." Tiniola studied her. A slow smile touched her mouth. "Interesting. Bim snapped a photo of the table, angle neat, faces out of frame, caption already forming in her mind. Girl boss energy, she murmured to herself. Dismissed, Adizwa said at last. Tomorrow morning you will bring us copies of Mr. Ajayi's notes. The ones he keeps in the blue file. You seem like someone who knows how to find things. Ireti rose. Good night. She walked into the corridor, heart loud in her ears. She had not noticed the tiny sign the night carries when it has a secret in its pocket. By 9:45, the library lights were off. By 10, the dormitories lay quiet. By 10:15, the back garden heard soft laughter and the gentle cough of new perfume. By 10:30, four shadows slipped behind the science block, skirts rolled, sneakers laced, gloves reapplied. The wall behind the mango tree wore an old drum of a ladder, rusted, reliable. The night wore the city lights like necklaces. In the last room of Block C, Ireti sat on her bunk, eyes on the curtain that swayed like a small eye. On her desk lay an old phone with a bright lens and a battery that believed in miracles. She had not planned to tell on anyone. She had planned to survive. But some stories arrive at your door like rain. You can choose to stand under the eave, or you can step into the night and learn its language. A giggle floated past the window, then the quick hush of complicity. Footsteps. A whisper. The scrape of a ladder. Ireti stood. She put on her sweater. She picked up the phone and the small power bank. She turned the key in her locker twice, the way a careful heart turns twice before it opens. She stepped into the corridor and moved like a thought that did not want to be caught. There is a proverb that says, the lizard that jumps from the high Iroko tree nods to praise itself when no one claps. Outside, the mango leaves nodded. The wall waited. The city hummed. Ibadan High held its breath, and the night watched as a new story began to write itself, one quiet footstep at a time. Night in Ibadan has a way of dressing up like a promise. The four girls knew the route by heart, past the water tank, under the mango tree, over the ladder with the rusted rungs that beat the palms and left a memory. Sneakers whispered on concrete. Perfume stitched sweetness into the dark. Laughter, low and careful, rose and vanished like smoke. When they dropped to the other side of the wall, the city opened its mouth, Okada engines purring, distant music thumping, a hawker's last call tinning into the air. Bimp raised her phone and the screen lit her face like a small stage. Writes 2 minutes, she said, tucking a call behind her ear. Kofo scanned the street the way athletes scan a field, shoulders loose, eyes sharp. Tiniola checked the time and murmured the schedule she had drilled into them: arrive, enter, keep to the left, exit by 1, back over the wall before roll call. Adizwa simply stood in the shadow, queenly and still, as if the city were a pet that would come when she snapped her fingers. Across the road, from the fenced darkness of Block C, a smaller shadow detached itself and began to move. Ireti walked like water, flexible, finding the hollows. She stayed on the other side of packed cars, letting bumpers and side mirrors break her outline. Her phone lived in her palm, set to low brightness, set to silent, lends a patient eye. She did not know what she would capture. She only knew that truth, when you caught it in the wild, did not always look at you directly. The boat driver eased to the curb, hazard lights blinking like gossip. For B, he called, pronouncing the initial like a question. Bim flashed a smile that could sell anything and slid into the back seat. Kofo and Tiniola followed. Adizwa took the front. As the car pulled away, Ireti breathed out and began to follow on foot, then flagged an Okada with a finger that knew how to be discreet. Dog B, she told the rider, then added, slow. The rider nodded like a man who had seen many versions of the same story. They rendezvoused at a corner where a bar's sign hissed in white neon. Beyond it, the club paused in violet and blue. 2 bouncers at the door dressed in black that swallowed their necks nodded at Adizwa as if memory itself had her face in it. Inside, sound hit like a tide, Afrobeats drums, bass that prickled skin, a singer's voice bending words into hooks. Light sliced the room into moving shapes. Someone's wrist through glitter. Someone's laugh pealed above the chorus of voices. The queen bees moved through it the way they moved through the school corridor, but lighter, freer, like dancers stepping into a song they loved. A hostess lifted a velvet rope. VIP left, she said, and led them to a low couch that reflected the room in chrome. Bottles appeared, cold and beaded, with sparklers sending small comets into the ceiling. Beam filmed a tight angle of fingers and flame, no faces, a caption that read, "Glow." Tiniola declined a drink and took water, eyes moving, counting exits. Kofo swayed even when seated, shoulders catching rhythm, body hungry for the release practice never gave. Adizwa let the night kiss her cheekbones. "To us," she said, and they clinked. Outside, on a small balcony that smelled of stale smoke and jasmine from a pot someone had given up watering, Ireti found a gap between slats and focused. Her phone trembled once, then steadied. She framed the couch, the dancing sparklers, the careless cascade of a laugh that money often buys. She captured hands. She captured the quick invisible net of attention they drew even while hiding. Her pulse kept time with the drums. A man in a navy cap with a gold crest on it approached their table, not old, not young, one of those faces you forget until trouble remembers it for you. "Evening, ladies," he said with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. "DJ owes me a song, the house owes you a gift." He set down a small black bag, discreet, rectangular, the kind a person could pretend was makeup. Tiniola's gaze snagged on it for a bit. The man leaned in, voice low. Ireti, attuned to whispers, slid her phone a fraction and zoomed. "You're Tenny, right?" Syntax said, "You're the one who likes to plan." The man's hand hovered over the bag. "A little something for clever girls who keep their schedules." Adizwa placed a palm on the table as if to ground the moment. "We don't need favors," she said lightly. "We buy what we want." "Sometimes what you want," the man replied, "is not on the shelf." He tapped the bag twice. "Call me Dami. Friends of friends." Tiniola did not touch it. She looked at Adizwa. In the glare and fog of the club, the space between them felt like a chessboard. Kofo's jaw flexed. Bimp, sensing content, turned her phone screen inward and pretended it was off. Ireti's camera drank it all, the man's ring with a tiny embossing she could not read, the bag's zipper, the glance Tiniola shot at the clock on the far wall. Then, a waiter bumped Dami's elbow. The bag tipped, briefly unzipped, and a flash of a silver flash drive caught the light. Not lipstick. Not compact. The man's hand closed fast, but light is a snitch. The lens caught it, shape, glint, the small sticker on it with blue letters, Bifile. Bifile. In another word, it could mean anything. In Ibadan High, in a week where whispers had traveled about Mr. Ajayi's blue folder of sacred notes, Bifile meant a door where doors should not be. Ireti felt the skin at the back of her neck prick. She zoomed all the way in until Pixel sighed. "Enjoy your night," Dami said, tucking the bag beneath the low couch, so casual it became suspicious. He melted into the moving crowd. The DJ cut into another banger, the room shifted key. On the balcony, a couple argued softly. A girl retouched lipstick like a ritual. Time curved. For a while the four forgot schedules. Kofo went to the dance floor and burned the path. Strangers clapped. Bimp collected applause in a grin. Tiniola wrote invisible sums in the air with her finger, how long to stay, who had seen them, where the second exit was if the first one closed. Adizwa accepted a bottle she did not finish and let the room admire her. She did not see the small security camera tucked into a dark corner, red dot winking like a secret heartbeat. It saw her. Ireti recorded. She also breathed. Her fingers cramped. She flexed them. She moved when someone came to the balcony and became a shadow against a bigger shadow. She filmed the table again just as Tiniola reached down, slid the black bag into her tote, and rose. Decision had met opportunity and chosen to work together. By 12:30, the club had sweated through its first fever. The four stood. Kofo was the one who said it, "Let's move." They ghosted out past the bar where a bartender pinned cash with a bottle opener, past a man selling suya at the gate whose smoke signaled the end of many nights. The driver from earlier was waiting, or someone who looked like him in the way that people look like each other under neon. Doors thudded. The car nosed into the road. Ireti slipped down the stair, blending with a small crowd that spilled into the street. She lifted her phone once more as the sedan's taillights stretched red ribbons. Behind the car, a dark SUV rolled without plates, windows up, following at a courteous distance like a prayer that refused to end. She focused, heart stammering. The SUV drew closer to the light and revealed, for a blink, a sticker on the windshield, Ibadan High Alumni 04. The driver's profile turned, revealing a scar that crossed his cheek like an underline. Her camera caught it, crisp. The night peeled back another layer. The route home reversed, roundabout, side street, mango tree watching like an old witness. The girl slipped from the car and into the shadow that dressed the school. The SUV slowed at the corner as if sniffing the air, then rolled on. On the wall, the ladder waited, faithful servant of disobedience. They climbed. Shoes thumped softly on the inside. Breath misted. The campus lay calm, pretending it had slept. They did not know the gate man had changed shifts that week. They did not know the house mistress had written down the exact number of steps she always heard on Friday nights, 4 sets, light heavy, and tonight had counted 5, a ghost number that would keep her awake. They did not know the little red dot in the corner of the club had fed a hard drive that a bored technician would later scroll through while eating puff-puff. They knew only this: beds would be warm, morning would ask for hymns, school would put on its daylight manners. Bimp whispered, "Epic." Kofo bumped her shoulder. Tiniola, awake eyes, clutched the tote for a moment longer than she needed to. Adizwa exhaled and decided that night, like school, belonged to those who took it. From the corner of the block, the smaller shadow arrived last. Ireti stood beneath the mango leaves and reviewed the gallery in miniature, sparklers, hands, the black bag, the flash of the drive, the SUV sticker, the man with the underlined cheek. Her mother would have called it a string of cowries. Useful, if you knew how to spend them. Dangerous, if you wore them to the wrong gathering. A siren murmured in the distance and faded. A breeze fingered the curtains in Block C inside. A junior turned in her sleep and whispered a name she would not remember. On her bunk, Ireti sat, plugged in the power bank, and watched her phone creep toward a full charge. She did not sleep. Somewhere in the city, someone else did not sleep either, the man with the scar, hand on the wheel, watching the wall that separated girls from consequences. He smiled once, a thing caught in the dark, and lit a cigarette that flared like a warning. The school bell sang the morning hymn, but for the Queen Bees of Ibadan High, dawn came with heavier music. They had walked back from the city with perfume in their hair and shadows on their conscience, and now they wore their uniforms like crowns that covered sins. In the dining hall, students made way as usual, but something invisible had shifted. The silence was not quite the same. Eyes followed them longer, whispers lingered behind hands. Tiniola noticed first. She always noticed. On the far side of the hall, Ireti sat with her tray of beans and pap, her head bent as though her food contained a hidden scripture. Her phone lay in her pocket, battery full, gallery loaded with images too sharp to be dreams. She did not look at them, but she carried the knowledge like a second skin. She felt both taller and lonelier. Power is a river. When you first drink from it, you taste both strength and thirst. After classes, when the courtyard softened under the slant of the sun, Adizwa led the bees toward her. They did not send a messenger. Queens walked themselves. They cornered Ireti by the mango tree near the science block, a place where voices echoed but teachers rarely came. Kofo crossed her arms, muscles tight. Bim slipped her phone into her pocket. Tiniola looked at Ireti as if she were studying a riddle. You followed us, Adizwa said simply. Her voice was calm, but beneath it lay a blade. I walked, Ireti replied. The city is free. You filmed, Tiniola added. It was not a question. Ireti said nothing. Silence can be louder than confession. She only shifted her weight and stared at the ground. Kofo stepped closer. Do you know what happens to rats that play with lion food? Ireti raised her eyes. Rats eat too, if lions leave crumbs. The tension cracked like thunderclouds waiting for rain. Adizwa lifted a hand to steal Kofo. Listen, she said softly. Delete the videos. Tonight. And you will walk free. Ireti breathed in, slow. Or what? Or you discover how cold a boarding school can be when no one greets you, when no one saves you. We have power, scholarship girl. Don't test it. But it was Bimp who betrayed the calm. She pulled out her phone, screen bright. Show us now. Show us you've deleted. Ireti reached into her pocket, brought out the old phone, screen faint but alive. Her finger hovered over the gallery. Images flashed, the nightclub, the sparklers, the bag, the flash drive, the SUV. She let them see, then clicked the screen dark. I don't delete truth, she whispered. Not when it can save me one day. The four looked at one another. A pause, sharp as glass, hung between them. Kofo swore under her breath. Tiniola exhaled through her nose. Adizwa's face hardened, but she did not strike. Queens do not fight in public. That night, in the privacy of their corner, their court without walls, the bees debated war. Kofo wanted to seize the phone and crush it underfoot. Bimp wanted to hack it, send rumors that would drown the girl in shame. Tiniola, always the thinker, proposed a bargain. We offer her silence in exchange for loyalty. We can make her useful. Adizwa listened, chin on her hand, eyes far away. She had seen how Ireti's silence had unsettled them more than words could. Silence was a crown too, and sometimes heavier. Meanwhile, Ireti lay on her bunk, her face calm, but her chest beating like a drum. She had stepped into the dangerous game of blackmail without announcing it. She had not even fully decided what she wanted. But she knew the videos gave her a seat at the table where she had never been invited. The thought frightened her, and yet, somewhere deep, it thrilled her too. The next day, Adizwa summoned her during break. Not a public confrontation, but a private audience in the library. The bees sat flanking her like sentinels. Ireti stood opposite, her back to shelves of books that smelled of dust and ink. Tiniola spoke first. We are not your enemies. We are an alliance. We rise, you rise. Ireti folded her arms. Alliances are made between equals. You want to be our equal. Kofo laughed. With what? That phone. With truth, Ireti said. Her voice was steady. And truth does not need permission to speak. The words pressed into the air like ink sinking into paper. The bees were silent, weighing her. Adizwa finally leaned forward. Then what do you want? Ireti did not rush her answer. She thought of her parents' faces, of nights without light, of mornings where hunger sat like a cousin at the table. She thought of how these girls had everything yet still wanted more. I want respect, she said at last. And protection. If you touch me, if anyone touches me, the world will see your Friday night. That is my bargain. It was a gamble, spoken aloud like a curse. Kofo cursed again, fist tightening. Bimp hissed. But Adizwa smiled, thin and dangerous. You are bold, she said. Perhaps too bold. But very well. For now, you have your protection. But remember this, Ireti, queens never kneel. And if you stand too tall, lightning finds you first. They let her leave, but the library wall still echoed with her words. An invisible line had been crossed. She was no longer prey, but she was not yet friend. Between them stretched a space filled with mistrust, bargains, and a secret that grew heavier each passing day. That evening, when the bees gathered in their private corner, their laughter was thinner, their eyes sharper. Each girl wondered, silently, whether Ireti would hold the leash or whether they would break it from her hands. And Ireti, alone in her bunk, replayed the video again and again, knowing that truth, once caught, is never a tame animal. It waits, patient, until someone lets it loose. Morning arrived with the smell of disinfectant and pap, but the peace in Ibadan High had been replaced by a tight hum. Mr. Ajayi burst into the staff room with chalk dust on his sleeve and anger in his voice. My blue file is missing, he said to anyone who would listen. Months of notes. Tests. Lesson plans. The roomer left the room and ran ahead of him like a child late for assembly. By mid-morning, students were whispering about a thief. By break, the whisper had become a story with two heads, a theft, and the queens who were beginning to look tired around the eyes. The queen bees wore their uniforms perfectly. Still, the air around them felt different, like a song that had missed a note. Tiniola did not touch her breakfast. Her tote bag was heavy with a small black pouch that should not exist in a school. In a locked bathroom stall, she slid the flash drive into a borrowed laptop and watched a folder bloom like a wound, befire. Inside were exam drafts, teachers' notes, donor lists, and a short video, Dami's face speaking to camera in a room with a half-drawn blind. Delivery complete, he said to someone off-screen. For the old boys who like their school spotless. She yanked the drive out and stared at the door as if the wood could confess who else knew. Bimp cornered her outside. We have to return it, she hissed. Delete the video on that girl's phone and return it. Before the school smells smoke. Kofo cracked her knuckles. No more talk. We take the phone. Adiswa watched passing juniors lower their voices and felt rage whisper at the back of her teeth. We do nothing loud, she said. Silence is power. Ireti will give us what we want. They staged it like a study intervention. After lunch, they asked Ireti to meet in the music room, a place so soundproof even secrets came out muffled. Sunlight was a square on the floor. A drum kit waited like a patient witness. Tiniola sat on the piano bench and folded her hands. Adiswa leaned against the wall, composed, the kind of calm that makes people step back. We are done playing, Kofo said. Give us the phone. I need what's on it, Ireti answered. It keeps me safe. Nothing keeps you safe like us, Bim said, but her voice shook. Tiniola tried reason. Listen to me. This is bigger than us. The flash drive, the man at the club, do you think they are small boys? If this spills, you drown too. Ireti looked from girl to girl and saw fear, real fear, dressed as threat. She spoke slowly. You wanted me to kneel. I did not. I only asked for respect. Kofo stepped forward. Ireti stepped back. The drum kit clinked, a small metallic alarm. The door swung open and shut as a breeze passed like a spy. For a moment it seemed the room would hold, that words would make a bridge. Then Kofo moved fast. She grabbed for the phone. The two struggled, nothing vicious, just frantic, hands tangling, plastic scraping the floor. Bimp, near tears, said, "Stop, please, stop," but her own hand lifted a phone to record, instinct stronger than sense, as if proof could erase guilt later. The house mistress's footsteps approached and paused. Silence. The footsteps continued. The girls froze, breathing hard. Kofo held the phone, triumphant. Ireti held the strap of her bag like a lifeline. Adizwa took the phone from Kofo and checked the screen. Gallery icons stared back. She held out her palm for Ireti's unlock code. "There's a timer," Ireti said, voice suddenly flat. "If my phone is off for more than 10 minutes, the videos go to cloud. If I'm not back online by 2, they send to 3 places. One of them does not forgive." She did not blink. "Please give it back." They stared at her, measuring bluff against backbone. Tiniola believed her first. She pressed the phone into Ireti's hand. "We'll talk tonight," she said, the strategist running out of moves. But the afternoon did not keep their appointment. At 1:42, while the school sat in siesta, a board technician in a small room above the nightclub yawned, scrolled, and paused on 4 girls in uniforms with the kind of posture that screams entitlement. He clipped 30 seconds, sparklers, the black bag, a leader's profile, and posted to a gossip account that loved nothing more than rich children's mistakes. At 1:58, a scheduled email left Ireti's draft folder and flew to a burner address named after a rumor blog. The subject line said, "If anything happens to me." The attachments were short, crisp, damning. Phones buzzed like wasps. "See wetin I just see. Ibadan High, as e dey hot. Old boys sponsoring badness." Screens lit up in dormitories, kitchens, offices, salons. The same clip replayed in 1,000 places: the girls, the bag, a freeze frame of a silver drive, the blue letters "Be fire." Another angle appeared, hands clinking bottles, the quick smile of Adizwa, the camera's grinning red dot reflected in a mirror. Then someone posted a still of the SUV with the Alumni 04 sticker. Comments multiplied like ants. An old boy with a scar replied to no one and locked his phone. The principal called emergency assembly at 4. The sun burned low and hot. The school stood facing a wooden stage like a congregation invited to hear bad news. Teachers formed a line that did not look like protection. Parents appeared at the back, some with office ID cards still swinging like pendulums. The principal's voice cracked only once. "We will not be shamed by indiscipline," she said. "We will investigate." Effective immediately, all students will surrender devices. Saturday's inter-house sports is postponed. Prefects will assist staff with dorm checks. Any student found to have left campus last night should come forward now. No one moved. A bird shrieked. In the crowd, girls looked at the queen bees and then looked away, as if eye contact might be a contagion. The queen stood tall because they had been taught to stand tall, but inside, gravity had changed. By evening, the board chair had called. Donations paused. A parent threatened legal action. WhatsApp groups boiled. Someone posted, "If this is our future leaders, then God help us." Another posted, "Who raised them?" Another posted, "Stop blaming the girls, chase the men." A voice note leaked of a teacher whispering that exam questions had been sold for years and that the B file looked like a mirror held up to a rotten room. The hive broke. In their corner, blame flew like knives. "You took the bag," Bimp accused Tiniola, eyes rimmed red. "You made us targets. You filmed everything," Tiniola shot back. "Always filming like the world is your mirror. If you hadn't filmed, there would be less proof." Kofo slammed her fist into the wall. "We should have taken the phone when I said. Now look." Adizwa stood very still, then turned on each of them. "I told you, silence. You forgot who we are. You forgot who I am. You forgot we are children," Tiniola said quietly, and for the first time, Adizwa looked away. By night, the school had become a courtroom. Dorm checks turned up lip gloss hidden in dictionaries, cereals under mattresses, contraband perfumes that smelled like rebellion. The queen's lockers were neat and yielded nothing, but neatness can be a veil. A staff member found a black tote with a secret pocket in the art room, empty. The flash drive had changed hands or disappeared. Ireti walked through the corridor like a proverb people only half remembered. Some girls stared with a kind of respect edged with fear. More looked at her as if she had thrown a match into a dry field. A word appeared on her locker in chalk: snitch. Someone smudged it with a sleeve, someone else wrote it again smaller: Mina. In the dining hall, a space opened around her like she carried a sickness. A junior muttered, "She wants attention." Another said, "She will bring police." A friend who had once shared mosquito coil with her did not meet her eyes. Everyone loves truth until truth sits at their table. A teacher called her aside. "Where did you get those videos?" the woman asked, tired rather than angry. "I was afraid," Ireti said. "You are brave," the teacher replied, and then added, softer, "but brave girls must learn the tax of bravery." She returned to her bunk and lay down without undressing. On the ceiling, the fan traced slow circles no one felt. In the next room, someone cried. In the next block, someone laughed too loudly to be comfortable. The school's generators hummed like a warning. She unlocked her phone and checked the scheduled email she had set like traps in the grass. 2 had gone. The last waited for dawn. Her finger hovered over the cancel button. She did not touch it. She turned the phone face down and hugged her pillow. On the other side of campus, Tiniola sat at a desk with the drive in her palm, weighing sins against solutions. She opened her laptop again and watched Dami's short video all the way through. He said a name at the end, low, almost swallowed by the soundtrack from the club: chairman. Tiniola closed the lid and pressed her forehead to her knuckles. She thought of the word equal. She thought of the word friend. She thought of Ireti's eyes, steady, unblinking, and felt something split inside her that was not exactly fear. Outside the gate, a dark SUV idled. The scarred man finished a call and flicked his cigarette into the dust. He could wait. The night was young. Power always waits. In the morning, assembly would be shorter and harsher. A list of names would be read. Phones would be stacked in a plastic basin like surrendered weapons. The principal would use the word disgrace and then the word healing, because institutions love ritual. The girls would stand and pretend to be one thing while feeling another. And somewhere in that crowd, the queens would stop looking at each other like sisters and start looking like rivals with different escape routes. The school slept badly. The city did not sleep at all. And the video did what videos do best: it kept playing, even with everyone's eyes closed. The school woke with swollen eyes. Some girls cried openly in the courtyard, others whispered like sparrows scattering from a hunter's stone. Ibadan High was no longer a temple of excellence but a courtroom where every gaze was a witness and every silence an accusation. The queen bees walked through it together, but something in their steps was broken. Adizwa's chin was high, but her eyes did not burn as before. Tiniola carried the weight of the drive like a brick hidden under her blouse. Kofo's fist clenched with a violence she could not use. Bimp checked her reflection and found no applause in it. Their throne was gone, the school had already pronounced them guilty. Ireti moved among them like a shadow and a light at once. To some she was savior, to many she was traitor. Chalk words appeared on walls: truth teller, snake, snitch, queen killer. She bore them all. In the staff room, teachers spoke of discipline, of investigations, of parents with angry phone calls. But in the dormitories, in the canteen, in the whispering midnight, a new story was being written, that even queens could bleed. The board arrived. Men in suits, women in stiff lace, their eyes sharp with power and reputation. They met in closed doors. Rumors said some wanted the matter buried, others wanted examples made. Outside, the scarred man in the SUV waited again. Power does not rush, it watches, it calculates. The announcement came at evening assembly. The queen bees were suspended indefinitely, pending inquiry. Their names were read like a funeral list. Gasps broke across the field, then silence fell like a hand. For the first time in years, they were not untouchable. They were human, and that was worse. Back in the dorm, Ireti sat on her bunk and felt no triumph. She had not wanted crowns, only respect. Yet respect had come dressed as fear, not friendship. Girls avoided her, some cursed her softly, others studied her as if she were a dangerous lesson. When lights went out, she whispered into her pillow, not sure if she was praying or confessing. Later that week, when parents arrived to collect their disgraced daughters, something unexpected happened. Tiniola, pale with exhaustion, crossed the courtyard to Ireti. She stood for a long moment before speaking. "We are not queens anymore," she said, voice rough. "But you're not alone. Not if you don't want to be." Ireti studied her, heart torn between caution and the ache for a friend. She did not answer right away. Then she nodded, once, like someone agreeing to try. It was not forgiveness, not yet. It was survival, side by side. Ibadan High would carry the scar for years. Parents would warn daughters. Teachers would whisper of a lost generation. Students would tell the story as if it were myth, the rise and fall of the queen bees. And like all folktales, it would end with a lesson: pride builds palaces that truth burns down. Even queens must learn humility, or they will kneel before disgrace. If you enjoyed this story of betrayal, truth, and unexpected alliances, don't keep it to yourself. Backhand index pointing right, share it with a friend who loves dramatic folktales. Backhand index pointing right, leave a comment with your thoughts. What would you have done in Ireti's place? Backhand index pointing right, subscribe for more stories like this, where African drama meets timeless lessons. Backhand index pointing right, and don't forget, hit the like button so more people can discover this tale. Open book. Thank you for watching Queen Bees of Ibadan High. The hive may be broken, but the story lives on.